Hey guys, it's Will from Magic, the Friendly Tavern, and today we're going to be looking at another Delver deck because I'm still doing the Delver challenge. This is one I built a while ago, but I just updated. So let's take a look here. What we're looking at is Delver of Secrets is a 1-mana 1/1, but if you reveal an instant or sorcery from the top of your library during your upkeep, you can flip it into a 3/2 flyer. Now, this gives you an evasive body with a lot of power for very cheap. It can come down as early as turn 2. Now, a Delver only needs to take 6 hits to kill an opponent, but if you can add another Delver or just 2 damage to that 3 power that you're doing per turn, you can turn it into from a 6-turn clock into a 4-turn clock. That's a pretty short window. If you can get enough tempo and advantage, you can aggressively kill an opponent very quickly with a Delver, and there's not much they can do about it. Now, how this differs from an aggro deck is instead of having to go through turns 1 through to 4 and push your damage before you become obsolete, a Delver just needs a window at any time during the match, late game or early game, to deliver the punches it needs to kill an opponent. That's why it's called a tempo deck instead of an aggro deck. Next, we're going to look at all of our creatures, and then we're going to go through the rest of the spells of the deck. Because for a Delver to work, you need at least 26 spells, or at least 26 spells to be able to flip Delver on turn 2 75% of the time. So you always want a whole bunch of spells when you're running Delver. The next creature always is Spectral Adversary. I pair this with Delver a lot. It has Flash Flying, and whenever it enters the battlefield, you can pay 1 in a blue any number of times. Whenever you pay that, it gets a +1/+1 counter for each time you paid it, and you can make an artifact, creature, or an enchantment pays out. This gets rid of blockers that, from your opponent, so you can swing in and deal damage, or you can phase your own stuff out and save it in case of a removal spell, because we're running very low creatures. We're only running 12 to 14, and if we lose a whole bunch of creatures, we don't have a threat, we won't be able to close out the game, our opponents will win. So we got to be very selective and very careful with our threats, so being able to save them is a very good plus side. So we're running 3 of them. Then we're running the MVP Suspicious Stowaway. This thing is a 2-mana 1/1 that can't be blocked. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. Then if it's daybound, if it's nightbound, it flips. It becomes a 2/1 that can't be blocked, and whenever it deals damage to a player, you draw a card. This gives us card advantage and lets us loot through our library really quickly. This gives us a lot of advantage over our opponent. This is a really good card. Next on our creature list is 1 copy of Yuan-Ti Malison. The Yuan-Ti Malison can't be blocked as long as it's attacking alone, so it's great if it comes down on turn 2. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, we get to venture into the dungeon, so we get extra utility. And if you look at these dungeons, I mean, even if you get one swing, you get just a little bit of help. It's nice. If it can go all the way through the dungeon, it's great. I'm using it because it's another unblockable creature, and we're not going to have many creatures out there anyways. And if it falls behind, it's not that bad. We can use it to trade off with another creature. If I actually had more of these, I'd run more. Now, our really big MVP of this deck, and what really gets us a lot of damage through us, is 3-mana 5/5. As an additional cost to cast this spell, though, we got to discard a card. Now, that's card disadvantage, and if they blow it up, we're at 2-for-1 to ourselves, which is terrible. But the risk is worth the reward. This much damage that early in the game, plus being that big, it really outclasses a whole lot of creatures. There's just only a few that it doesn't, and it really puts up a lot of pressure on your opponent. If we can just get it to stick. Now, the great things to discard with it are otherworldly gazes over here because they have flashback. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Is that otherworldly gaze pairs really well with the Outrider. I love running this card. It's an arena only card, so you might not have it in standard if you're playing paper, but it really, really, really works really well with Delver. Really fast clock. Next up is our spells. Consider, look, top card of your library, and put that card in your graveyard, draw a card, which is great. Fine, good card. Otherworldly Gaze looks top 3, and we can put any number of them in our graveyard and the rest in the back of our library in any order. Flashback, let's just dig. Really good. Then we're running 3 copies of Blood Pact. It's an instant, which is really good for 3. It lets us target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. That's a pretty good deal. We just want to be able to dig through our library and find what we need, so this card helps a lot. Fine card. Not the greatest version of this I've ever seen, but fine card. Now we have a removal. A Falling Hope is just or Fading Hope is just a return target creature to its owner's hand. If its value was 3 mana or less, we get to scry 1. This is a really good effect. This helps us bounce our creatures to save them, or it helps us get rid of a blocker for a turn. And the scry 1 is really good because it helps us fix the top of our library. It helps us manipulate our deck. So that's why that's in there. Then we have 3 copies of Bloodchief's Thirst, which is a sorcery. It can destroy target creature with mana value 2 or less, or Planeswalker. If it was kicked, it just destroys them outright. So for 4 mana, it's a total destroy spell at sorcery. For 1 mana, it's a really efficient sorcery or kill spell for the beginning of the game. Then we have 2 copies of Feed the Swarm. This destroys target creature or enchantment and opponent controls, then we lose life equal to the permanent's value. That's fine. We don't mind losing life. The destroy target creature or enchantment, the enchantment part is what we want it for. We want to be able to take out enchantments from time to time, especially cleric class, ranger class, and some other things that float around like that we need to be able to take care of. And black blue usually has a classic problem with taking out enchantments. This is the first direct destroy enchantment spell that has come out in black. There's like 2 to 3 spells in total that interact with enchantments in black, and this is one of them. This is the best one so far, and we don't know how far they're going to push this color into being able to destroy enchantments, but that's why we run it, is because we can. Next up is Flunk. Flunk gives a creature neg-X until end of turn, where X is 7 minus the number of cards in that creature's controller's hand. So I do believe, okay, so it gives neg 7. If they have 4 cards in their hand, then they'll give neg 3. The more cards in they have in their hand, the worse this spell is. But that makes, what this is in here for, truthfully, is for Trotsky. Trotsky is indestructible. You can't kill it with just destroy effects. And this hits Trotsky. This will give neg-X, which will get it off the field. This is for indestructible things. That's what it's for. And it works really well. A lot of people run Flunk. It's really, really popular in the format right now because it will deal with Trotsky and other indestructible things. Yeah, it's very, very conditional, but hey, getting rid of Trotsky is just like really a fine move. Next up, we're going to have Infernal Grasp. Infernal Grasp destroys target creature and you lose 2 life. So losing 2 life is not that big a deal. Destroy target creature for 2. That's better than murder. That's why we run it. It's great. Great removal spell. We have 2 power word kills. Destroys non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, non-dragon. That non-angel, non-demon, non-dragon thing actually comes up a lot. It does. That's why we're running fewer of these. I did have a full play set of 4 in here, but I just split it up and added other removal spells because this is great, but that non-angel really does kill it. That really is a factor. There'll be a lot of times this spell will not be hitting the target you want it to because of that. So keep that in mind. Then we have Baleful Mastery. So it costs 4 for an instant, and we exile target creature or planeswalker. But we can actually pay 2 for it instead of 4. They just draw a card. So exile is good because, again, it kills indestructible. It takes care of things that we normally couldn't get with destroy effects. Exiling, it means it won't come back from the graveyard. So in case it's a Narfi or something that usually resurrects itself, it can take care of that. That's why we're running it. It's a fine removal spell. You know, whether you're paying 2 or 4 for it, yeah, they draw a card. Oh well. Next up, we have Test of Talents for more removal. Test of Talent says counter target instant or sorcery spell. Search its controller's graveyard, hand, or library for any number of cards with the same name as that spell and exile them. Target player shuffles or draws a card for each card exiled this way from their hand. This deals with Alrund's Epiphany. That's what this is in here for. I may never hit it and actually hit an Alrund's Epiphany with it, but if I do, it's great. Any spell that just really wrecks you that are in multiples that your opponent is running or your opponent's got spells in it that are linchpins in his deck, this could remove and really, really shut down a strategy. This is a great spell. I wish there were more great counter spells in Standard right now. Now, there will be when Crimson Bow releases, but right now our counter spells are just not really that great. But this is one of the good ones. Next up will be Defensive Straight. It's 3 mana instant, destroy target creature without flying. This won't work sometimes. but most of the time it will. Most of the time this hits exactly what you want it to. Just extra removal. Then we have our last removal spell, which is target creature gets neck 5, neck 5. Again, we'll take care of Trotsky and other creatures that are indestructible. But this one also hits creature tokens and give them neck 2, neck 2. This will kill off all of those zombie tokens. I needed a sweeper in this deck, and I don't really have good options. This sweeps creature tokens, or it deals with Trotsky, so it's more flexible. So I'm going to run it and see how it works. This is new tech, so we're going to see if this card's worth it. Lastly, we have our MDFCs to add more spells and less lands to give us a better chance to flip. This one allows you to make an opponent reveal their hand, and you get to choose a card with value 3 or greater and make them discard it. That does come up a lot. This spell is great. I like it. After that, we can make them lose 4 life or gain 4 life for 6. This is really not that good, but for an MDFC, I'm willing to run it. Then we have draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1. This lets us draw late game. That's why they're in here. They're always going to be in here. I might trade them out, though, for maybe some counter for different MDSCs that are blue. But I like the fact that these could come into play untapped. Even if it does lightning bolt you in the face. That's why they're in here. As for lands, we're running 5 islands. We're running a Hive of the Tyrant to give us more reach and another creature to fight that can dodge removal like Doomscar and other sorcery speed sweepers. We're running 6 swamps. We're running 2 of the MDFC pathways, blue and black. And then we're running 1 Shipwreck Marsh, which comes into play tapped unless we control 2 or more lands. So we're looking for that for later. That's why there's 1 copy, so it doesn't show off as often. And that's it. That's blue-black Delver for everybody that was interested. This is Dimir Delver. Again, I'm Will at Magic the Friendly Tavern. Come down and see us. Now, happy pack pulls, and as always, happy games.